Rest in peace to my cousin Stephanie and my cousin Malia, who just recently lost their lives in Phoenix, Arizona. A racist gunman going around shooting people just for being black. You know what I'm saying? And CNN ain't gonna talk about it, but let's talk about it. I woke up early this morning soaking up all of your energy on the planet. God damn it, this Hennessy really gonna be my remedy. I can't stand it seeing us all get divided knowing they planned it. And if the police pull you over, watch where your hands is, cause nowadays they pulling triggers on cameras, and we can't go to war because our killers is amateurs hitting innocent babies and mama sisters, no benefit, just another certificate of death. The days we living in is limited, really, how many left? They think we primitive, but we just sensitive and deaf to all that positivity. Give a damn about no street walk. I just lost my cousins to a racist. Fuck that peace talk, I'd rather see that heat spark, but really gunshots ain't gonna change shit. We go to bed satisfied, wake up to the same shit, a cycle of sickness every day up on the headlines, and everybody got the answers till right now. I'm talking to the Black Lives Matters. Hey, I'm talking to the All Life Matters. Just want you to know that your life matters. Just want you to know that your life matters. Hey, I'm talking to the Black Lives Matters. I said I'm talking to the All Life Matters. Just want you to know that your life matters. Just want you to know that your life matters. And everybody going crazy, pick a side, black or white or black. If you try to speak for everybody, they ain't liking that. We don't want to hear nobody talking about just love yourself, cause you can still catch a bullet even if you love yourself. Sometimes I wish that I was someone else without the struggle. Sometimes I wish that I didn't have to scratch and crawl and hustle. I know about that double up, re-upping on the Sunday. Gotta pay that rent on Monday, so I gotta get it some way. And while I run the streets, the world get crazy every day. Been through a lot of pain, the world should pay me every day. And lately I've been nervous, got a baby on the way. Got me scared to bring you in this world, cause how I'm supposed to say, look, you're different, look, you're special, look, can't let you go alone, I must protect you, look, don't be drifting, you my mission, pay attention, cause I don't want you getting all confused when you get bigger. In my eyes I see a young prince, but they might see a nigga. I'm talking to the Black Lives Matters. Hey, I'm talking to the All Life Matters. Just want you to know that your life matters. Just want you to know that your life matters. Hey, I'm talking to the Black Lives Matters. I said I'm talking to the All Life Matters. Just want you to know that your life matters. Just want you to know that your life matters. Yeah. You know, I ain't one of them people that's gonna be out here, you know, telling motherfuckers what they need to do. But I'm gonna tell you this. Change starts with the individual. And everybody can make a change for the better. It don't matter what color they is. White, black, brown, purple. Right is right, and wrong is wrong. Yeah, it's 2:22 in the morning. You know what that means? Wake up, primo. My vibrations be aligned with the universe. Cosmic soul for those living on the music search. I swear I really be trying to put the music first, but listeners ain't listening to lyrics. They can use a hearse for that dead mental state that they heal today. I wrote these lines hard enough to make the fucking pencil break. My bad iPhone, cause when my mind roams, I travel through dimensions, transcending every time zone. I can be in Atlanta and touch a soul and some to the aura of an African spirit moving all through the track. When you hear it, that's cause my pops was an Asiatic and my mama was from Canada, so there you have it. I've been called nigga, I've been called cracker. Yeah, know I was sent here to piss off rappers. If you fake, fuck you. I hope it's all when you learn. They'll catch you sleeping in that black hole when karma returns. It's about to get ugly for humans that's both-sided. You either flying high with love or got a co-pilot driving you around with a frown, doing no smiling. Spirits in the studio with me, I call that ghost riding. JD, Riggs, what up? We trying to get some better love, a better product, maybe some better drugs, a better number, better tag, a better plug, some better cooked food, better water, better grub. Can't get enough. I'm talking about some better love, a better job, better money with a better check. If you get a better girl with a fatter ass, but the heart ain't warm, do she got better sex? No, but yes, we think we getting better love, but do we really need a better car, better ride, or do we need appreciation, some better eyes, so we can see the universe working every time it's in disguise? I say we want some better love, some better police that won't shoot us up, a better neighborhood where ain't no shooters, plus a corner store they got more than Cheetos and sugar water drinks. Sometimes we want fruit for lunch, cause we all want that better love, some better education and better schools. It seems like we go from first grade to college and still still don't get the knowledge, like they trying to raise better fools. And they ain't cool, I can tell you about some better love. We can't complain, wishing that we had a better life. We gotta use the one we got. Close your eyes, look inside, meditate, free your mind, and I guarantee you'll find a better light. You can show the world some better love. Be a L, be the truth, a better example. You can light millions of flames along the way and not burn out your light, so you'll never need a better candle. A lot to handle, but I know we getting better love. Where we going, where we headed, a better direction. But the obstacles is needed, the pain and the grieving is growth in disguise for better progression, a better lesson, better love.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is Maria Morena Torres Bay, aka Sex Energy Goddess 13, and tonight is a very, very special show. I'm very excited. If you're just tuning in, you just missed the listening party, and the only way that you can check out Dion Primo's Room 13 is that
Negativity is a hell of a drug. Hey, I can't even lie. I feel good as a motherfucker right now, man. Life is good. Why focus on the bullshit? You lost your job, ain't got no work. Your money fucked up, it could always be worse. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. Your nigga still cheating, you don't feel the love. But negativity is a hell of a drug. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. I used to only care about the shit I didn't have. Like that white Lex when I pull up to the Ave. Looking at my car like, damn, it's a bucket, but the shit still rise, so I gotta say fuck it. Cause I remember when I didn't even have a vehicle. Only going far as my motherfucking feet ago. The best weed to blow wasn't available, so I took the seeds out and stems out. Sometimes you gotta weed certain friends out your zone, cause when the shit gets realer, then they gone. I remember getting fired from DirecTV. Happy than a motherfucker when they let go of me. I ain't get mad, I celebrated. That's when the music picked up and I elevated. Sometimes the bullshit that be coming your way is only making room for the real shit to stay. You lost your job, ain't got no work. Your money fucked up, it could always be worse. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. Your nigga still cheating, you don't feel the love. But negativity is a hell of a drug. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. All I wanted for Christmas was a bad bitch. Got the pussy, realized I wasn't missing shit. You got a good girl, you better hold her down. I'm in the ATL when I be going out. I see niggas spinning, trying to keep up with television. That really just tells your vision to limit your credit cards and go and get better bras that looks like every star on magazines and videos. Yeah, that type of look. How to be a sucker, I ain't read that type of book. Scared to be yourself, I ain't been that type of shook. So why you been afraid? When life gives you lemons, fuck lemonade. Time to make a different drink. And nowadays, on the real, I got a whole new recipe. Never let the negativity get the best of me. Cause all the bullshit that come along the way is only making room for the real shit to stay. You lost your job, ain't got no work. Your money fucked up, it could always be worse. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. Your nigga still cheating, you don't feel the love. But negativity is a hell of a drug. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. I remember I was trying to get that Rolex, doing everything I could to get some more checks. All I want in my life right now is a big booty queen that like to get piped down. A call from the fam to let me know they good. And I'ma say what's up when I get back to the hood. A home cooked meal with no meat, no dairy. Some alkaline water, fresh fruits and the veggies. A blunt if I wanna roll up and get creative. 2K with the homies on the PlayStation. Plus a massage from a real bad Asian. Incense burning when I do my meditation. Buddy pass when I'm trying to do a vacation. Hit the studio in LA and be amazing. And any bullshit that comes along the way is only making room for the real shit to stay. You lost your job, ain't got no work. Your money fucked up, it could always be worse. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. Your nigga still cheating, you don't feel the love. But negativity is a hell of a drug. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them. Problems is a bitch, you might as well fuck them.
safety today. Yes.
A Broward County deputy pepper sprays a teen. Another deputy seen swinging a punch, banging the teen's head on the street.
Officer involved said he feared for his safety. After the takedown, the 15-year-old is charged with aggravated battery, resisting an officer, and trespassing.
So you may have seen this disturbing viral video of Florida police officers slamming a 15-year-old black boy's head to the ground. The officer in question stated the child was acting aggressive. Now, I've watched it from every possible angle, in slow motion, sped up, and all I could see was a high school student attempting to retrieve a cell phone that had fallen out of the pocket of another teen who was being arrested. Only one person in this whole encounter could justly say, I feared for my life. And it's not the police officers who have supposedly undergone rigorous training to ensure they are equipped to de-escalate a situation. It's the child whose head gets smashed to the ground not once, but twice. Now, if this video makes you uncomfortable, good. Watch it. Do not bury your head in the sand because it's unpleasant, or because you've fallen into this myth that criticizing the actions of law enforcement means you're a traitor or unpatriotic. It is exactly that point of view that justifies actions like this and leaves officers unaccountable, as is happening in this situation with the officers' punishment being reassignment. But what is so striking about this example is the reaction. And I've talked about this before, the justifications you'll hear whenever a black child is involved in an altercation with police. Because, as is often the case, black children are not offered the luxury of being children. This has been proven in countless studies where black children were compared to white children. One study published widely by the American Psychological Association showed black boys as young as 10 may not be viewed in the same light of childhood innocence as their white peers, but are instead more likely to be mistaken as older, be perceived as guilty, and face greater police violence if accused of a crime. But the thing is, outside of statistical data, you can see this disparity by looking at, say, the group of rowdy Covington kids who were just exercising their First Amendment right compared to the group of black kids in Miami who had a gun drawn on them for exercising their same right. And it's never more clear than when you look at the way the media often humanizes even the most violent mass shooters who happen to be white, yet demonizes black victims. This all plays a role in anchoring this dangerous rhetoric within our society by assuming the worst of one group of people while making excuses for the other. And the only way to change that is by speaking out when examples like this surface. Because in my opinion, this is a result of that. Because it's not just the treatment of this child that exemplifies the disparity, but the post-incident reaction, where people flock to any form of defense to justify the officer's action and vilify the child. I mean, you'll even find, as pointed out by Parkland survivors, the same people in Broward and Parkland who were calling out local law enforcement in the wake of the Parkland shooting are now silent over the brutal assault of a black child in the same area. So once again, if you're okay with this and feel okay with not speaking up, you've got to ask yourself why. For more on this, I'd love to hear what you have to think on my Instagram at Francis M. Maxwell. You can support independent media right here.
Students marching out of class today, protesting the school's response to a blackface incident.
WGN's Patrick Elwood is live with reaction. Patrick?
Joe and Micah, good evening to you. School officials say about 1,000 students participated in today's walkout, and moving forward, they're going to use this whole incident as a teaching moment so that with the message being blackface is not acceptable now or ever.
No place for blackface!
Homewood Flossmoor High students walk out of school today in protest. They're upset over photos posted over the weekend on Facebook showing 3 HF students in blackface. Video filmed by one of the teens also posted on social media showing them in the drive-thru of a McDonald's, joking as a black worker hands them their food.
There is no excuse for these young boys to say that they were unaware of the history behind blackface. blackface.
At times, students forcing the closure of streets around the school, the intersection of Flossmoor Road and Kedzie Avenue too.
We should have some type of repercussions for those kids, or we should have some type of justice, because it was a lot of feelings hurt, and I just feel like something needs to be done.
In a letter sent home to parents, the district said the posts were highly offensive and not representative. A second email informing parents today the administration's support of the walkout. Quote, sharing with them the importance of their voice, participation, and plan to move forward as a school and community. We will be having a school-wide conversation with all students during English classes tomorrow, when the principal and superintendent will join in an interactive discussion with the student body, unquote. Some parents who know the students in the videos defended them and said they just didn't know what blackface meant.
This is not representative of our community.
Janet Lawrence is not one of them. She's a graduate of HF, and her kids went to school here too.
I want them to learn to never do this again.
HF student Emiracle Kirkwood and others in today's protest, though, think not enough has been done to discipline the black-faced teens.
The guys should be kicked off their sports teams. Like me feeling like that would be punishment, getting expelled.
School officials say these students who did the blackface are entitled to due process. They can't go into specifics, Joe and Micah, about what, if any, kind of discipline they are facing, but they do add quickly that they're handling the situation as best can be, taking it very seriously, obviously, and will hand out the most severe punishment possible under Illinois school code. Reporting from Homewood Flossmoor High School, Patrick Elwood, WGN News. Back to you guys in the studio.
I think it's trying
Can
to
you
use paper.
stop on
peoples, making commentary.
I think it's right.
Can you?
Has been raised to believe, A, the police are always the good guys, and frankly, that black lives matter less than white comfort. And until we deal with that, until we deal with the reality, because here's the problem. When a white person calls the police on a person of color over a barbecue in a park, sleeping in a common room at Yale, sitting at the Starbucks or whatever it is, knowing that Tamir Rice's life was snuffed because someone called the cops on a 12-year-old boy playing with a toy gun. Something that white boys do all across this country without fear of being shot. And that's a national story. You can't tell me you didn't know that happened. When John Crawford is called, the cops called on him at the Walmart, also in the state of Ohio, not to pick on Ohio, and he's standing there with an air rifle that he pulled off the shelf at Walmart. He's talking to his girlfriend or whatever, and the cops are called on him. They come, they shoot him. When you know that is what happens, what you are saying is, my discomfort with you right now is worth more than the potential that your life could be snuffed in 10 minutes. Until that stops, nothing is going to change.
I'm the descendant of Choctaw slaves, as well as Pocasset Wampanoag as well. In my research, in trying to reconnect with the heritage of my family, I had to go through a number of records. And what I found within my family on the Choctaw side is that we had a lot of names who we considered at that time Christian names. We didn't realize what the importance of them were. When I came along in the black movement and joined the black movement, we had this move to take on Pan-African names. And my great-grandmothers, on both sides, on my mother's side and on my father's side, were very upset about it. And I said, well, you know, we're giving up these Christian names, this white man's name. We're not going to keep that stuff. You know, I'm changing all my children's names to this, that, and the other. They said, well, no, you can't do that. But they really could not clearly explain it to me until I got to this point here 30 years later. I'm doing my genealogical research, and I realized those names were the names of ancestors that they had taken on. The reason they had taken on, and so to keep the memory of those ancestors, like Annie or Mariah or Glenn, they named children down the line those very same names, and that's how we were able to trace back who we actually were. The reason the names were changed is because I think what's missing here is the fact that, as opposed to the African slave, the Native Americans had bounties on their heads. We were cash cows for the settlers, for the invaders here. So hence the name Redskins. Those Redskins had bounty on those skins. So as a survival technique, we had to change our names.
Understood.
We had to blend in.
Sure.
And then came along the census takers who took us from Indian to Negro, and from Negro to mulatto, and now black and African American, to wipe out the very memory of us being here so that there's no claim to the land by our people.